So guys, how many of you have watched any of your favorite Christmas movies? I guarantee if you're like me, you probably had not that much time to where you could watch your favorite Christmas movies, but you've at least took the time to at least watch down some of your absolute favorites. Like, I'm sure some of us have easily gotten a good bunch of Christmas movies that we said we have to watch in the month of December. Sometimes we get a head start and watch them right at the beginning of November. Some of us are even more insane and we'll watch it right at the beginning of October. Some of them just don't care. We'll just watch it whenever of the year. For me, I usually try to watch it within the month of December. I usually try to anyway. Sometimes it doesn't work that well. But when it comes down to it, there are like a good bunch of Christmas movies that I literally say to myself, I need to sit down and watch this. I do not care how busy I am. I have to sit down and watch this particular Christmas movie. No givens whatsoever. And Delmar's the same way, my mom's the same way, Wes is the same way. Unfortunately for my dad, not so much. He hasn't really been a Christmassy person the last 10, 20 years of my life, really, in all honesty. But when it comes down to it, we all have our favorites. So I figure I kind of share you some of my personal favorite Christmas movies that I have. Now, some of you guys will be like, oh, this is generic. Some of you will be like, oh, this is interesting. And some of you will be like, why'd you put this over this or this over this? Keep in mind, this is my top favorites. And to make it a little bit fair, I decided to do a top 12 for 12 days of Christmas. But I decided to try to do a 12 days. If I wanted to, I could easily do a top 25. Hell, I'd probably do a top 50. But we would be here all day with me just talking about my personal favorite Christmas movies. And the problem is that these particular favorites, some of them that aren't on the list are ones that I haven't seen in like a couple of years. Some of them I haven't seen since like 2 years ago. Some of them I haven't seen since 5 years ago. And then there's still a good catalog of Christmas movies that I haven't seen in years. I know there's at least a good like 5 or 6 that I can barely remember the titles of, but those are like some of the movies that I just haven't seen in years. But when it comes down to it, the ones that I label are the ones that I usually see every year and I want to see them. You know, these are movies that I either have to say, I have to watch this no matter what, or if it happens to be available on demand or whatever, I usually be like, oh hey, my favorite Christmas show is on. I'll watch it and whatever. So that's usually what it is. So with that being said, let's get started. Number 12 is going to surprise some people, and for some people it will not be a surprise. It's going to be a shock really that it's even that low on the list. Or to some it may be a surprise that it's even on there. But I've watched this every year so far, and that is Jim Carrey, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, over the years, it has gotten like a weird like option about itself. Like, some people love it, some people like it, and some people just absolutely despise it for some reason. What do I say? I like it. It's just funny, really, in all honesty, it really is. It's one of Jim Carrey's most funniest roles that he's ever had, next to Ace Ventura, and then a whole bunch of other comedy bits that he has personally been in the past. But Jim Carrey is good in a sense of his humor. And when you think about it, Jim Carrey had to have a humongous makeover when it comes to wearing the Grinch outfit. He has to wear this heavy suit. He has like a whole bunch of like plaster holding the fur in place and everything like that. So you gotta think about it. He is literally like trapped in like a weird costume of fur and stuff. So the fact that he does the huge exaggeration like he does, he has to. But Jim Carrey has to do the over exaggerations to where that way it shows the character of the Grinch. And is it over the top? Yes. Is it hilarious? Oh, most definitely it is hilarious. Absolutely love it. There are so many good things that came out of this particular one. And while, yes, there are some scenes that are not really that good that could have been left out of the film, for the majority of the film, it was definitely an enjoyable experience. Is it better than the original Grinch? Most definitely not. Is it good on its own? Oh yes, it is. It definitely deserves to be watched every year in my personal opinion. Especially if you're a Grinch fanatic, you should definitely watch this. Now, I know some people are going to be asking me, have I seen the Illuminations of the Grinch? Not yet, but I've heard it's good. from a handful of people so far. I might see it eventually. Number 11 is actually that of the Disney Christmas Carol, where it involves Scrooge McDuck. I have watched that every year ever since I can remember, being as little as I can be. I have watched that almost every year, and I say almost every year because there'll be like 1 or 2 years that I don't get to watch it, but for the most part I have actually watched it every year, and I absolutely love how that is. I love the animation of the Disney Christmas Carol, is unforgettable. You cannot forget the animation. You cannot forget the characters that they have put in the positions. For example, Goofy as frickin' oh shit, why did I forget the name of Bob Cratchit? There we go. That character, the fact that Mickey and Minnie, no wait, that's Bob Cratchit, my bad. Mickey as Bob Cratchit. What was Goofy? Dadgummit, I forgot. Jacob Marley, that's what it was. Oh my gosh, I am so lost in the stories. Oh my gosh, I was trying to remember each character, and I had them remember, but I forgot all of a sudden. But then you have the conveniency of Donald being that of Scrooge's nephew, which it is his nephew, and it's kind of ironic to see it. But I mean, I love how the animation works, and I love how they position each of the characters, and it works to its advantage. It's a wonderful and lovable experience. And admittedly, I know some people would probably put another Christmas Carol better than this one, and admittedly so. There are better ones out there. But is this one of the most unforgettable ones? Yes, it is. Number 10 is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Now, admittedly, I haven't watched this every year, but recently, over the past couple of years, I've been watching it a lot, actually, with my folks and everything. And we have watched this every year. And personally, it is one of the more lovable, one of the most lovable Jim Henson Christmas specials. It really is. There are a couple of other ones better than Emmett Otter's, but Emmett Otter is special on its own merit. It is. And the music itself is really good. I really enjoy the music that they have in this one, except for maybe one, perhaps. But that's beside the point. The point is that this one is supposed to represent how two particular people was trying to get a Christmas gift for the other person, but unfortunately they wasn't able to, and involves having to sacrifice one thing in order to get the prize money to where they can buy a Christmas gift for the other person. And it's really nice, it's really lovable, it's definitely something that if you're a Jim Henson fan and you want a Christmas special, this one is definitely one of the ones you should check out. Number 9 is Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That was animated by Chuck Jones and narrated by Boris Karloff. Now, like I've said before, this one is better than the Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but it's only better in two ways. Number one, in terms of its narrative way. The narrator in Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas was good, but it isn't as good as Boris Karloff. He definitely does a really good job of narrating the story of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And then you've also got the fact that none other than Chuck Jones animated this one, and he does a wonderful job animating the entire film itself. It was definitely worth it. But it also is good because of it being slightly shorter. Admittedly, Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas is longer, therefore it's a full-fledged movie, whereas Dr. Seuss's Chuck Jones animation How the Grinch Stole Christmas is shorter, sort of like that of almost a 30-minute, if not is a 30-minute cartoon of its own. So it's one of those short cartoons, much like how the Disney's Christmas Carol, you can watch this easily and not have to worry about cutting any time on your busy schedule. You can watch this easily and you can just enjoy it. And if you're one of those people who don't have that large amount of time, How the Grinch Stole Christmas is the perfect film to watch every year when you just don't have enough time to watch it. And it's perfect. It's short and simple, and it's sweet enough to a tune. Number 8 is the Tangerine Bear. So, some of you probably haven't even heard of this one, I bet. This one was released years ago. This one was probably like at the turn, I want to say it was like at 2005, if not 2008. So it's been relatively 10 years at this point, I want to say. This is just me thinking from the top of my head, so if you're asking about the actual knowledge, you'll just have to look it up yourself. But the Tangerine Bear, the story of the Tangerine Bear is that a teddy bear factory is going on, and this particular bear was sent through the Smilinator. Yeah, this gets corny. He gets sent through the Smilinator upside down, and thus he has a frown instead of a smile like he normally does. Which, teddy bears don't actually have smiles. I mean, the actual teddy bears don't have smiles. They just have the generic, like, that type of facial look. But that particular factory was making smiley face bears, and therefore he was sent through the machine upside down and he had a frown. And because of this, he wasn't sold immediately in the particular store that he was in. He was instead not only sent through the discount table, but he was also later on sent into another store called Kohl's. And or Winkle's Emporium, my bad. So he gets over there, he meets up with a few other characters, and basically him and his friends are trying to get sold just in time for Christmas. And the entire experience is heartwarming. It's a perfect film, in my opinion, to where you can just sit down, get cuddled up, and get nice and warm during the Christmas holidays. I have watched it every year. I have never stopped watching this since I first watched it, and has watched it every year since then. And if you haven't checked it out, at least give it a good search through and see what you think, because in my personal opinion, I absolutely love it. Number 7 is Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I am very shocked at the fact that this was the only Rankin Bass film that I actually watch every year. Frosty the Snowman, I've watched a couple times. Rudolph, I watch it kind of every year, but I don't watch it excessively like how my mother and what my brother does. And really, in all honesty, there are a lot of good there is a lot of Rankin Bass films that he has done when it comes to Christmas and everything. But which one is my absolute favorite? It would have to be Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Yes, there are a good bunch of other ones, and believe me, I would label them, but they're not my top 12 favorites. And keep in mind that I don't watch them every year. I watch them like every other year sometimes. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, I haven't heard of this. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. But Santa Claus Coming to Town is the one that I would say that I probably watched the most. Mostly because I like the story layout, I like the humor that it has, and I love the songs that they have. Seriously, it seems like almost every single month I always end up singing one of his songs, if not the song. Put one foot in front of the other. I sing that like almost every month. I don't know why. It's sort of like a meme in a way. It just pops into my head all of a sudden. I'm just like, put one foot in front of the other. I'm gonna be nuts after this, but yeah, that one I just remember the most. I don't know why. It's like, you got Rudolph, you got Frosty, but this one in particular I like the best, really, in all honesty. Not to say that the other ones are bad, but I like this one preferably better. Number 6 is the Polar Express, based on the book Polar Express. Now, admittedly, there are a lot of people that would say, oh, the book was better than the movie. Some people say the movie's better than the book. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's a Christmas special, so it's allowed to break rules, It can make a book into a movie, and if it's a Christmas special, no one will hinder it. Although some people probably would hinder it, I wouldn't doubt it. That's side of point, though. The Polar Express is charming, musical, whimsical. It's everything that it needs to be in order to be an enjoyable movie that a family can watch every year. And really, in all honesty, it captured the experience of like being a child and wondering, kind of being on that teetering, tottering of belief, Because I mean, anyone who has been a child have always had that stagnated feel of like, do you still believe in Santa Claus? Is he real? Is he fake? You don't want to believe because you don't want to be fooled. You want to believe because it's too powerful to be something that isn't real. And Santa Claus, the myth of Santa Claus has been around for years. It's been around for eons. And the fact that it still carries on is not so much the fact that is he real or is he not real. It's a matter of who carries the mantle of Santa Claus. Because really, when you think about it, any one of us could be Santa Claus, you know? You got some people that say, oh, well, my parents was Santa Claus, or my grandparents were Santa Claus, my uncle was Santa Claus, my parents hired some guy to dress up as Santa Claus. Really, in all honesty, I think any of us could be Santa Claus. But really, when you think about it, it's not a matter of do you believe that he's real or not real. Do you believe in the magic that the title Santa Claus delivers? And I think that's the thing that Polar Express does, is that it delivers the magic of believing in something. And I think that's something that's worth recommending to anyone. Absolutely. Number 5 is titled The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. Now, there are a lot of films that talk about the beginning stories of Santa Claus, how he became Santa Claus, how he became known as a Santa Claus. But this one in particular has been based on, I believe it's been based on a book, I'm not quite sure. But technically, Rankin Bass also did a version like this of The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. And it's actually really good, I like it. But that version is not my absolute favorite. Instead, it is actually a cartoon version that I absolutely love. I originally first watched it whenever it aired on Cartoon Network during its Christmas holiday marathon. When it had its movie premiere specials that they would have, that one would air. And I watched it and I absolutely loved it. Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. Years later, I ended up actually wanting it on DVD, and when I finally found it, I went on ahead and got it, and I have watched it so many times that I am caught up in terms of my years of wanting to watch it, and I have watched it every year. If not, I usually watch it at least twice a year. I love it that much. Now, admittedly, is it better than some of the other ones? No. But I still love it absolutely. And it's weird that there are others better than this one, even though I watch this almost twice per year. But that's only because I enjoy it better than some of the other ones that involve the life and adventures of Santa Claus. This one does the best representation, it does the best presentation, it does the best music, it does the best animation. But not only that, Jim Cummings voicing as Santa Claus, absolutely beautiful. I love the fact that he voiced as Santa Claus, the older Santa Claus, mind you. But it was just wonderful. And plus, really, this actually features something that I know a lot of people are surprised that I would say, but this features my favorite style of Santa Claus. Now, a lot of people have image of Santa Claus where he has his normal coat, pants, boots, and his normal hat and stuff. For years, my personal favorite Santa Claus is where he is dressed in his traditional Christmas robe. I don't know why, but every single time I see Santa Claus, I picture him more as Father Christmas rather than just Saint Nicholas or something like that. I always see him as like the father of Christmas. It's like anytime he flies over the entire scenery of a city or a town or anything like that, he carries with him the spirit of Christmas with him, and thus he is Father Christmas. Admittedly, the title should belong to Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and stuff like that, but that's beside the point. The point is, Santa Claus helps deliver the joy of Christmas, the Christmas spirit that everyone should carry in them every year. And to me, that style of Santa Claus is my personal favorite. Number 4 is The Muppets Christmas Carol. Yes, there's another Christmas Carol here. You thought I wasn't going to mention anymore, but there is. The Muppet Christmas Carol is another old favorite of mine. I have watched it a lot. In fact, whenever sometimes I go into watching Muppet movies, this one is usually one of the ones I usually watch first, instead of like Muppet Treasure Island, which is another good one record. You have Muppets from Space, which is okay. And then you've got some of his other ones like Muppet, Caper, and so many other ones. But the Muppets Christmas Carol is one of the best when it comes to like the music and how the puppetry is and everything. And oh my gosh, the music. I love the music in the Muppets Christmas Carol. Wonderful. It's so beautiful. And I have watched this countless times, you know. And you never forget the Muppets Christmas Carol. It's much like how the Disney's Christmas Carol is. You never truly forget the Muppets Christmas Carol. It's like anytime you think of the Muppets, you'll think of all the good times you've enjoyed. You enjoy all of the comedic material and stuff like that they represent. But then you'll also remember some of the best times, which is literally the Muppets Christmas Carol. Literally, it is considered to be the best in its series. And if you haven't seen it, you need to. You will see why a lot of people talk about this a lot. If not, you'll see why some people talk about the music that's in the Muppets Christmas Carol. It is, bar none, the best. Honestly, the pacing in that one is really good too, and the way they tell the story is really good. The fact that Gonzo basically tells the story, and he basically acts as the character as Charles Dickens, and Rizzo the Rat is teamed up with him, which actually makes for a really nice comedic value. There is, however, one problem that I have when it comes to the Muppets Christmas Carol. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of a copyright claim or whatever. You can look it on YouTube, you can find it on television, but there are certain songs that they cut for no good reason. They just cut it out from the video itself. And I'm like, why did you cut it? Why did you cut that? Why'd you cut it? There's no reason to do it. And I hate it whenever television do this, where they cut certain bits and pieces of a particular Christmas special just to fit the commercials. Obviously, the commercial helps pays for the movie itself, but that's beside the point. The point is that why do you cut it? It sucks so badly. And it's like I said, the Muppets Christmas Carol is so recognizable because of its music. And some of them gets cut out? That sucks. Which is why I still need to get that on DVD. Thankfully, I've got it available on my computer and stuff, but I need to have it available physically on DVD. It's just, I have to have it. I want it so badly. But yeah, again, definitely gotta check it out. Number 3 is Arthur Christmas. Now, a lot of you have probably heard about this one, and it's no wonder. It is considered to be one of the classics of Christmas shows. Now, the majority of the Christmas shows I've talked about have been released like 10 or so years ago, okay? For some reason, Arthur Christmas came out like a couple of years ago, really. And just like all of a sudden, instantly, it became an instant Christmas classic. Very rarely will you ever get a Christmas special that comes out recently and all of a sudden it becomes a traditional Christmas classic icon. Arthur Christmas has literally grabbed the mantle and says, I am now the classic Christmas. And it's hard for them to do that. In a time where companies will make like 50 or so Christmas shows because they know that that's going to bring in the profits, and Hallmark is guilty of this. They probably have like a special budget to where they have like 50 or so Christmas specials that they make every year. Don't know how they do that, but they do somehow. But they make Christmas specials and none of them stick out. Yes, they're enjoyable to watch, but are they rememberable to where you want to watch them again and again and again every year? And it's hard to do that, you know. It's like a lot of people will probably have a good 100 or so favorite Christmas show, but do you even have remotely enough time to watch them all again? Probably not. Arthur Christmas is surprisingly among the top 20 favorites of people's favorite Christmas classics when it comes down to it. And the fact that Arthur was able to do this, Arthur Christmas, is definitely deserving. And if you haven't seen it, by all means do watch it, and you'll see why a lot of people enjoy it. It kind of represents the past, the present, and then the future of Christmases, you know? You have the past Christmases that did it and everything like that, and they tried to stand out above everything else because they are tradition. You then have the future of Christmas, where basically it's trying to overpower the past and present because they believe that it's better than the past. Sure, it performs better, but is it truly better? And then you have the present that doesn't really know which one it wants to have. It wants to have more of the past or more of the present. And that's kind of a hidden reference that isn't really shown in a lot of Christmas specials, but yet this one does it pretty well. And again, it's a really enjoyable Christmas special, and you should definitely check it out. Number 2 is one that I could not believe I actually put this high on the list, but when it comes down to it, regardless how much I like the Disney Christmas Carol, regardless how much I like the Muppets Christmas Carol, I cannot deny how much I like this version of the Christmas Carol. Ladies and gentlemen, my number 2 is actually that of Jim Carrey's The Christmas Carol. Hard to believe it, right? It truly is hard to believe. Is it musical? Not really. It doesn't really have that many musical notes. Is it memorable? In a lot of ways it is. But it's not so much that. But the presentation, the atmospherical charm, the visuals of the entire film is mind-blowingly amazing. It is absolutely gorgeous to watch. I have watched this so many times. I first watched it in theaters, I loved it. When it came out on DVD, I watched it and I loved it. Kept watching it every year and I still love it. Yes, admittedly, the Muppet Christmas Carol every once in a while will try to butt in, but for some reason, the Jim Carrey's Christmas Carol always seems to push its way into my fame of vision as being the standalone best Christmas Carol. Admittedly, some people will say there are better, and there probably is. But for now, Jim Carrey's Christmas Carol is literally the icon of Christmas carols. It is literally the best, visually, art-wise, the whole works. And Jim Carrey being a Scrooge and every other character that he is placed in is pretty good. It's really freaking good. I'm actually surprised. And some of the stuff that they have it will get you. It will get you. I still remember watching Jacob Marley whenever it shows up on the little door knocker thing, and when he starts to roar at him, it scares him. It scares me still to this day. It's like I'm still preparing. It's like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And once he does it, I'm like, gee, it gets me every time. Just because of how good it looks. It's just so freaking amazing. Absolutely one of the best looking Christmas shows I've ever seen. And much like with Arthur Christmas, it's surprising as to how well it managed to staple itself to be among one of the greatest classic Christmas films to this day. Now, before we go on to my number 1, I want to go ahead and put out an honorable mention. Now, I wanted to put this on the list, but I really couldn't because of one problem. It just came out this year. It's a new Christmas special that came out on Netflix, and I'm sure some of you who follow me on Twitter and Facebook, you probably already know what I'm fixing to talk about. But I couldn't put it at my top 12 because all of the other films came out like 10 years ago, and even so on and so forth. This one just came out this year, so I feel like if I added it on there, it wouldn't be a fair advantage. But I feel like it needs to be mentioned, and that is The Christmas Chronicles, featuring Kurt Russell as Santa Claus. Me and my folks watched this one, and we were surprised as to how well it was. The advertisement they had for this one does it zero justice. You know, you look at the commercial, and it makes you think of like Bad Santa and stuff like that, Fred Claus, stuff that just isn't really that good at Christmas specials. It's like, really? We got this? And while yes, there is a little bit of cursing in it, it's actually really good. We're talking about balls to the walls, awesome Christmas special. This is like absolutely wonderful. And Kurt Russell as Santa Claus, I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again, I love the robe I love the robe Santa Claus. You know, the fact that he has like a long coat and everything like that. And while Record is not really a robe, it's more of a trench coat or whatever. It looks really good on him. It really does. And Kurt Russell as Santa Claus, not gonna lie, he was really good. Really loved it. I love the fact that the trend of like, I don't do ho-ho-hos and stuff like that, or the fact that he doesn't, or the fact that every single time he sees a picture iteration of Santa Claus, he's like, does my butt really look that big? I'm like, this is actually the best iteration of Santa Claus I've ever seen yet. This is hilarious. Really, it is. It just, it's one of the greatest Christmas films that are new that I've watched this year. That was like, standalone, it stands out to being a classic film that people is going to more than likely watch it every year. And I'm hoping that, because thankfully some of the Netflix specials that they've had do eventually come out on DVD. In fact, there's a DVD box set for season 1 of Castlevania, so that's a good thing, which means eventually the Christmas Chronicle will eventually get a physical release on DVD perhaps. Will it be eventually within the next 6 months? Probably not, but I imagine it will be available on DVD the next Christmas coming around. And once it does, I'm grabbing that DVD because it's that good. Really, it's really that good. You should watch it if you have Netflix, that is, because it's only available through Netflix. Sorry, if you don't have Netflix, you'll just have to wait. But if you do have Netflix, what are you waiting for? Watch it. If you weren't predicting what number 1 was going to be, allow me to give you a big frickin' hint as to what my number 1 Christmas special is. Get ready? It is the Christmas special, Charlie Brown. I have watched this every year. I have never missed it. I have watched it all the time. There's been times I've watched it up to 2 or 3 times. There's been times I've watched it up to 10 times. It is that much of a favorite of mine. I have watched this continuously. I have collected memorabilia that involves Charlie Brown Christmas Special. I collect stuff that has Snoopy as Santa Claus. I am that obsessed with it. I love it so much. But I think I love it more than just being a traditional film, and I love it more than just being a traditional animation and cartoon. I love it more than just because of the fact that it has Snoopy. I love it because of what it does. You know, you have the fact that it represents the childhood that children have when it comes to Christmas time. You have the fact that it represents of how the advertisement field is when it comes to Christmas and of how absurd it gets sometimes. But then you have the fact that it represents the meaning of Christmas. And it does it in just a simple way. It basically tells a scripture straight from the Bible, which at the time a lot of companies didn't really do. And it's funny of how, like, technically back when it first got released, ABC, I believe it was, that was going to air it, said that this would not do well and it was not going to get a second airing. When in reality, the day after, the results were in. It got seen by millions of people. Millions of people watched this special, and they loved it. And to this day, it gets aired every year. And because of it, I think a lot of people are surprised whenever they see a Christmas special doing something different that a lot of people don't do, or something that people are too risky to do. Like, people are thinking that, no, this will not sell. This is beyond what we normally would do. When in reality, some people enjoy stuff like this, you know? There are some people out there that don't get to hear the Bible verse that much. There are some people who feel like as though as if there's not enough of that exposed out into the field. And admittedly, I'm not a heavy religious person, but I do believe that you need to have that special time to realize the true meaning of Christmas, where it involves our Lord and Christ and Savior. And Charlie Brown does that. It basically pulls that in at the center of it and reminds you of the very important thing in life. And it brings out the joyous part of Christmas itself. And really, in all honesty, I just enjoy it that much more. It's one of my most favorite Christmas shows that I watch yearly. So that was it. That was my top 12 favorites. Top 13, depending on how you look at it. top favorites Christmas specials that I have watched every year. Absolutely one of my favorites. Are there more? There are a lot of other ones that I like. But those are the ones that I have watched every year and that I have absolutely loved regardless. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little Christmas special that I put together for you guys. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Merry Christmas, everyone.